Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum everyone. This is me, your host Haiza Happiness Wali. So this is my chat GPT. So my topic is I'm find the truth behind a common answer. So chat GPT, my first question is why do people say I'm fine even when they are not? Please answer. Chat GPT,
Wa
please
alaikum
answer it.
assalam. That's a great question. People often say, I'm fine, even when they aren't, for several reasons. Sometimes they might want to avoid worrying others or don't feel comfortable sharing their feelings. Other times, they might not even realize or understand their own emotions. It can be a way to protect themselves or to keep things simple in social interactions. It's important to create a safe space where people feel comfortable to express their true feelings.
Okay, ChatGPT, great answer. My next question is what are we hiding when we say I'm fine?
Thank you. When people say I'm fine but they aren't, they might be hiding a few things. 1. Emotions. They could be feeling sad, anxious, or stressed, but aren't ready to share those feelings. 2. Vulnerability. They might feel vulnerable or fear being judged or misunderstood. 3. They might be trying to protect others from worrying about them. 4. Social norms. In some situations, it's just a social habit to keep things light and avoid deep conversations. It's important to check in on each other and offer support when needed.
Okay, ChatGPT, great answer. Well appreciate. My next question is I'm fine just a way to avoid talking?
Thank you. Saying I'm fine can sometimes be a way to avoid talking, especially if someone feels overwhelmed or isn't ready to discuss their feelings. It can be a way to protect themselves from feeling vulnerable or to avoid difficult emotions. Sometimes it's just easier to say I'm fine than to explain what's really going on. Creating a supportive environment where people feel comfortable sharing can help them open up more.
Okay, ChatGPT, great answer. Well appreciate. So my next question is can I'm fine be a carry for help? Please answer your question.
Of course, sometimes when people say I'm fine but are actually seeking help, they might be unsure how to express their needs or feel hesitant to ask directly. It could be because they don't want to burden others, or they might not have the words to describe what they're going through. It's important to be attentive and show empathy. Letting them know you're there to listen, without judgment, can encourage them to open up when they're ready.
Okay, ChatGPT, my next question is do people believe us when we say I'm fine?
People might believe I'm fine because it's often a socially accepted response, and it can be challenging to express deeper feelings. Here are a few reasons. 1. Social norms. Saying I'm fine is often the easy, expected response in casual conversations. 2. Avoiding conflict. They might want to avoid deep conversations or conflicts. 3. Protecting others. They might not want to worry or burden others with their problems. 4. Denial. Sometimes it's easier to say I'm fine than to confront or admit their own feelings. Creating a supportive environment can help people feel more comfortable expressing their true feelings.
Okay, ChatGPT, a nice answer. So my next question is why do we smile and say I'm fine when we feel sad?
Thank you. Smiling and saying I'm fine when we're not feeling okay can be due to a few reasons. 1. Social expectations. Often, we're taught to smile and say we're fine as a way to fit in or follow social norms. 2. Protecting others. We might not want to worry or burden our friends and family with our problems. 3. Personal strength. Sometimes we smile to show strength or to reassure others that we're okay, even if we're struggling inside. 4. Denial or avoidance. It can be easier to put on a smile than to face or express difficult emotions. It's okay to feel that way, and it's important to find supportive people to talk to when you need to.
Okay, ChatGPT, nice answer. So my next question is I am fine a habit or a definition?
Thank you. Saying I'm fine can be both a habit.
Okay, ChatGPT. My next question is, who taught us to say I'm fine
I'm
all the
sorry,
time?
but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay, ChatGPT. My question is, who taught us to say I'm fine all the time? Please answer.
That's a great question. Saying I'm fine all the time is something many of us learn from social norms. It's part of the way we're raised and the expectations around how we should behave in public or casual settings. Over time, society teaches us to hide our deeper emotions in favor of being polite or not burdening others. It's kind of like an automatic response, especially when we don't want to open up or discuss personal feelings. What do you think about it?
Okay, ChatGPT. My next question is, can I fine mean leave me alone?
It sounds like you're asking if saying I'm fine is a way to keep people from pressing for more or leaving you alone. Sometimes, yes, people say I'm fine because they want to be left alone or don't feel ready to talk about what's really going on. It can be a way of signaling, I'm okay for now, just need some space. But the tricky part is that it might not always reflect how someone truly feels. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, ChatGPT. My next question is, does I'm fine protect our feelings? Please answer in a long.
You're welcome. That's an interesting question. Saying I'm fine can act as a sort of shield for our feelings, but it's not always the best way to protect them in the long run. Let me explain why. When we say I'm fine, it's often because we don't want to burden others with our emotions. We might feel like our problems aren't important enough to share, or we might worry that opening up could make things more complicated or uncomfortable. In this way, saying I'm fine can protect us from feeling vulnerable or from being judged. It can create a sense of emotional distance that helps us feel like we have control over the situation. However, while it may offer short term protection, this habit can actually prevent us from dealing with our feelings in a healthy way. By constantly saying I'm fine and not expressing what we're truly going through, we risk building up emotions inside. Over time, this can lead to stress, frustration, and even physical health problems because we're not giving ourselves permission to process what we're feeling. It can also make it harder for others to help us because they might think we're actually fine when we aren't. So while I'm fine might seem like a way to protect our feelings, it can sometimes make things worse in the long run because it doesn't allow us to really connect with others or address our emotions head on. The key to truly protecting our feelings is learning how to express them in a healthy way. It's important to find people we trust who we can open up to when we're feeling down, stressed, or upset. Protecting our feelings doesn't mean hiding them, it means being able to express them safely and in a way that helps us feel better, not worse. So, in summary, I'm fine can protect us in the short term by helping us avoid difficult conversations or emotions. But in the long run, it's healthier to acknowledge and express what we're truly feeling so that we can deal with our emotions and get the support we need. What do you think about this idea? Does it feel true to you?
Okay, yeah, sure. My next question is, what would happen if you we told the truth instead? Please answer the question.
If you were told the truth instead of hearing, I'm fine, a lot of things could happen, both for the person sharing and the person listening. Let's explore that. First, being told the truth opens up the chance for a real connection. If someone says, I'm not okay or I'm feeling sad, it invites a deeper, more honest conversation. It creates an opportunity to show empathy, offer support, or even just listen without judgment. In this way, truth telling can bring people closer as it shows vulnerability and trust. For the person sharing their true feelings, telling the truth can be a huge relief. It's like finally letting go of the emotional weight they've been carrying. It allows them to process what they're going through rather than holding it in. Sharing the truth, even if it's difficult, can also help others understand them better and offer comfort. It might even open up space for advice, solutions, or just reassurance that they're not alone. On the other hand, sometimes telling the truth can feel scary. It requires a level of vulnerability, and there's always a fear of being judged or misunderstood. In some situations, the truth might feel too heavy or uncomfortable to share, especially if it involves deep emotions or struggles. But in the long run, it's healthier for both parties because it creates space for real understanding, support, and growth. For the listener, hearing the truth might bring some challenges too. It might be tough to hear someone's struggles or pain, especially if we care about them. But it also gives us a chance to help, comfort, and show that we care. It can build trust and strengthen relationships. In summary, if you were told the truth instead of hearing I'm fine, it could lead to deeper connections, emotional relief, and more meaningful interactions. Sure, it might be uncomfortable at times, but it's also the path toward real understanding and support. How do you feel about the idea of telling the truth instead of just saying I'm fine?
Okay, ChatGPT, great answer. Well appreciate. So my next question is: are we afraid to look we when we do not say I'm fine?
I'm glad you liked the answer. Yes, a lot of people are afraid to look weird or different if they don't say, I'm fine. In many societies, there's this unspoken expectation to keep things light and positive in public, especially in casual conversations. When someone doesn't say, I'm fine, and instead shares their true feelings, it can sometimes feel like they're breaking a social norm. It might make them feel vulnerable or exposed, like they're not fitting in with the usual way of talking. People often worry about being judged or seeming too emotional if they don't say, I'm fine. We've been taught that it's okay to show happiness, but not always okay to show sadness, stress, or confusion. So if someone says they're struggling, it can feel uncomfortable or like they're being too honest for the situation. They might fear that others won't know how to respond or that they'll be seen as weird or too much to handle. But here's the thing: being open and real doesn't actually make someone weird. It shows courage, and it can actually help others feel comfortable doing the same. While it may feel uncomfortable at first, sharing your true feelings can make conversations more authentic and meaningful. In the long run, it builds deeper connections because people start to understand and care about each other more deeply. So, yes, there's a fear of being weird, but that fear is often tied to societal expectations. In reality, embracing honesty and vulnerability can lead to healthier, more genuine relationships. Does that make sense to you? What do you think about feeling weird in those situations?
Okay, ChatGPT. My next question is: how often do we lie with "I'm fine"?
That's a thought provoking question. It's actually pretty common for people to say, I'm fine, even when they're not. And sometimes we do it more often than we realize. The frequency with which we lie with I'm fine can vary from person to person and situation to situation. But let me explain why it happens. In everyday life, we're often asked how we're doing, and it's easier to just say I'm fine than to get into the details. We might be feeling stressed, sad, or overwhelmed, but we don't always want to burden others or have a long conversation about it. So, in those moments, saying I'm fine becomes a kind of automatic response. It's a way to keep the conversation light and avoid the discomfort of sharing personal struggles, especially when it doesn't feel like the right time. There are also times when we say, I'm fine, because we don't fully understand our own feelings or aren't ready to admit what we're truly going through. Sometimes it's a defense mechanism, protecting ourselves from the vulnerability that comes with opening up. Another factor is social pressure. People often feel like they should be fine, and there can be an unspoken expectation to appear strong and composed, especially in public. Saying I'm fine might be a way to conform to those expectations, even if it's not true. So, how often do we lie with I'm fine? It could be pretty frequent. especially if we feel like we need to put on a brave face or avoid dealing with our emotions in the moment. But it's important to recognize when we're doing it and to create spaces where we can be honest without fear of judgment. What about you? Do you think people in your life say I'm fine a lot, even when it's not true?
Yeah. So my next question is ChatGPT. What does I'm fine really mean inside our hearts? Please answer the question.
That's a really deep question. Unfun isn't a word we use often, but it seems like you're asking about a feeling that goes beyond just not having fun. When we feel unfun inside our hearts, it's more than just boredom or lack of enjoyment. It can be a deeper sense of emptiness, dissatisfaction, or even sadness. Inside our hearts, feeling unfun could mean that we're disconnected from the things that usually bring us joy. Maybe we're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or as if the things we once loved no longer hold the same meaning or excitement. It's like a sense of being drained, where things feel dull or lifeless. It might also reflect that something is missing, perhaps a need for connection, purpose, or emotional fulfillment. Sometimes, when we're not feeling fun inside, it's a sign that there's an internal struggle going on, whether it's stress, worries, or a deeper emotional burden we haven't fully dealt with. The feeling of being unfun could also come from trying too hard to please others or meet expectations, leaving us feeling disconnected from what truly makes us happy. It's like we're not allowing ourselves to truly relax, enjoy, or be authentic. On the flip side, feeling unfun can also be a temporary phase. Life's ups and downs affect our emotions, and it's okay to go through periods where we don't feel fully engaged with the world. It doesn't mean we're lost forever. It just means we need time or space to reconnect with ourselves and rediscover the joy that's still there inside. So, in short, unfun in our hearts often speaks to a feeling of emptiness or disconnection. It's a sign that something might need to be addressed or nurtured, whether it's our emotions, our relationships, or our sense of purpose. Does that resonate with how you felt before?
Yeah. My next question is ChatGPT. Why is it so hard to say I'm not okay? Please answer in long.
That's a powerful question. Saying, I'm not okay, can be really hard for many reasons, and it's often tied to a mix of fear, vulnerability, and societal expectations. Yin, fear of being judged or misunderstood. One of the main reasons it's so difficult to say I'm not okay is the fear of judgment. People often worry that if they admit they're struggling, others will see them as weak, incapable, or not strong enough to handle life. In many societies, there's this idea that we should be able to handle our emotions on our own, and showing that we're not okay might feel like admitting defeat. There's also a fear that others might not understand what we're going through, or that they might dismiss our feelings, which makes it even harder to speak up. Two, vulnerability and emotional exposure. Saying I'm not okay is an act of vulnerability. It requires us to open up emotionally, which can feel scary. When we say we're not okay, we're essentially exposing ourselves and our struggles to others. This emotional exposure can make us feel exposed, naked in a way, and it's natural to want to protect ourselves from that. Vulnerability often feels like a risk. What if we open up and others don't respond with the support or care we hope for? Ease, societal pressure to be fine. There's a huge social expectation to always appear fine, especially in public settings. From a young age, we're often taught to put on a brave face, especially when we're going through difficult things. Society often praises those who hold it together, keep moving forward, and don't let life get them down. This creates pressure to always seem okay, even when we're not. In many cultures, being fine is seen as a sign of strength, while showing weakness is frowned upon, which makes it harder to admit when we're struggling. Is fear of burdening others. Another reason it's hard to say I'm not okay is the concern that we'll burden others with our problems. Many people are afraid that if they admit they're not okay, others will have to take on their emotional weight. This can make us feel guilty for even expressing our feelings. We may not want to make others worry about us or feel like we're taking too much of their time or energy, especially if they're going through their own struggles. So we keep our emotions to ourselves to avoid putting others in a difficult position. If uncertainty about our own feelings, sometimes we struggle to admit we're not okay because we're not even sure why we feel the way we do. Our emotions can be complicated and confusing, and when we don't fully understand them ourselves, it's difficult to put them into words. How can we tell someone else we're not okay when we're not sure why? This uncertainty can make it harder to admit the truth, even to ourselves. Snup, fear of not being able to fix the situation. When we say, I'm not okay, we might feel like we're revealing a problem that can't be easily solved. Sometimes admitting we're not okay means acknowledging that there's something in our life we can't fix right away, and that can feel overwhelming. We may fear that once we admit we're not okay, there's no going back. This fear of being stuck in a bad situation can make it harder to open up because we don't know what to do next. 7. The stigma around mental health. In many parts of the world, mental health struggles are still surrounded by stigma. There's often shame attached to feelings like anxiety, depression, or stress, which makes it even harder to admit that we're not okay. Many people worry about being labeled or treated differently if they say they're struggling with their mental health. This stigma can lead to feelings of isolation as people keep their true feelings hidden to avoid facing prejudice or discrimination. Emotional exhaustion. Sometimes we don't say I'm not okay because we've been putting on a brave face for so long that it feels like too much effort to admit we're struggling. We may vulnerability, societal expectations, emotional exhaustion, and the desire not to burden others. But even though it's hard, admitting we're not okay is an important step toward healing. It's okay to not be okay, and allowing ourselves to express that can lead to support, understanding, and ultimately growth. How do you feel about these reasons? Do any of them resonate with you?
Okay, ChatGPT.
I understand. If there's anything specific you need help with, or if you'd prefer to discuss a different topic, just let me know. I'm here to help in any way I can.
Okay, ChatGPT, great
Sorry,
answer.
I'm having issues right now. Could
Okay,
not understand what you said.
okay, ChatGPT, I said
Got
great.
it. If you think of anything else, feel free to ask.
ChatGPT, great answer. Well appreciated. So my next question is: can we be strong and still say we are not fine? Please answer.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you appreciated the answer. Yes, absolutely. We can be strong and still say we're not fine. In fact, admitting that we're not okay can be one of the most courageous and powerful things we can do. Strength isn't just about pushing through tough situations without showing weakness. True strength lies in acknowledging our vulnerabilities, being honest about our struggles, and allowing ourselves to ask for help when we need it. When we say, I'm not fine, it doesn't mean we're weak. It means we're being real with ourselves and others. It takes a lot of emotional strength to admit that we're struggling, especially when society often expects us to hide our challenges and show only the positive sides of ourselves. By saying we're not fine, we open the door to healing, support, and growth. Being strong isn't about pretending to be perfect or always feeling okay. It's about being able to face life's difficulties with resilience, even when we don't have all the answers. Sometimes admitting we're not okay is the first step toward finding solutions, getting support, allowing ourselves to heal. So, yes, you can be strong and still say you're not fine. In fact, it might be one of the most authentic and empowering things you can do. Does that make sense? What do you think about this idea of strength and vulnerability?
Yeah, sure. Your answer is very, very great. Well, appreciate. Nice answer. So my next question is: what's the risk of being honest? Please answer.
Thank you so much for your kind words. I'm really glad you liked the answer. Being honest can be incredibly freeing, but it does come with some risks. The main risks of being honest often revolve around vulnerability, how others might react, and the potential for conflict. Let me break it down for you. One, fear of judgment. One of the biggest risks of being honest is the fear of being judged. When we speak openly about our feelings or our truth, there's always the possibility that others might not understand or might criticize us. Sometimes people react negatively to honesty because it challenges their own beliefs or expectations. We might worry that others will see us as weak, overly emotional, or too complicated. Vulnerability and emotional exposure. Honesty means revealing a part of yourself, and that can feel really vulnerable. You might share something personal or deep, and once it's out there, you can't take it back. This emotional exposure can feel risky because it's not always clear how the other person will react. Will they be supportive, or will they use your honesty against you? This uncertainty can make honesty feel like a leap of faith. East, potential conflict. Sometimes being honest means saying things that others might not want to hear. It could lead to uncomfortable conversations, disagreements, or even hurt feelings. And while honesty is important, it's not always easy to find the right balance between being truthful and being tactful. In some situations, brutal honesty can spark conflict, especially if the other person isn't in relationships or trust. Another risk is the possibility of losing relationships trust. If the truth hurts someone, they might pull away or feel betrayed, even if you had no intention of causing harm. Some people may not be ready to handle the truth, and this can strain or end relationships. It's a tough risk to take because even though you're being honest, the outcome may not always be what you hoped for. Gay, feeling exposed or vulnerable. When we're honest, we expose our inner selves, our fears, insecurities, or doubts, and that can make us feel exposed. We might feel like we've revealed too much, and that can be uncomfortable. For some, it can feel like a loss of control over their personal image. If we've always presented a certain version of ourselves, being honest might feel like a break from that. And feeling. Heck, misunderstandings or misinterpretations. Sometimes, even when we try to be honest, our words can be misunderstood. What we say might not come across the way we intended, and this could cause confusion or unintended consequences. This is especially true in sensitive situations where people may interpret honesty differently based on their own experiences or emotions. Despite these risks, honesty is incredibly important for building trust, understanding, and genuine connections. While it can be scary to be honest, it's also one of the most rewarding things we can do for ourselves and others. It's about creating authentic relationships where we don't have to hide behind masks or pretenses. So, while the risks of being honest are real, the rewards, like self respect, stronger relationships, and emotional freedom, are often worth it. How do you feel about the risks of honesty? Do any of them resonate with you?
Okay, so guys, this is my chat GPT. I hope you like it my video. I meet next video, next day, next chat GPT. So thank you and Allah Hafiz. Pakistan, Zindabad. Rehan School, Zindabad.